we're going to be talking about something you might have experienced but never really thought about: temporary crowns. Seriously, these things are like the unsung heroes of the dental office. You can think of them as tiny, custom-fit bodyguards for your teeth, stepping in to do a really important job when a tooth is at its most vulnerable. So let me ask you this. You're at the dentist, and they've just prepped your tooth for a beautiful new permanent crown. But that crown takes time to make. So in that in-between period, what's standing between that super sensitive, freshly worked on tooth and, say, your steaming hot morning coffee or a scoop of ice cream? Yep, you guessed it. It's the temporary crown, made from a special kind of resin. And that really gets to the heart of why these things are so important. We're talking about a tooth's most vulnerable moment. Once a dentist has done all the prep work, that tooth is basically, well, it's exposed. It's sensitive, it's a new shape, and it definitely can't be left to fend for itself. Now, you might think a temporary is just for looks, so you don't have a weird-looking gap in your smile. But that's not even its main job. Its real job is to be a shield. It's protecting the inner part of the tooth, that's the dentine, and even deeper, the living nerve and blood vessels inside, which we call the pulp. It's shielding them from hot and cold, from bacteria, from the pressure of just chewing your food. Honestly, it's an absolutely essential step. There's no skipping it. Okay, so if we were going to invent the perfect material for this job, what would be on our wish list? I'm telling you, it's a surprisingly tall order. This isn't just any old plastic. You need something that hits a whole checklist of requirements to keep both the patient safe and happy, and to make it workable for the dentist. Just look at this list. It's pretty demanding for something called temporary, right? First, it's got to be safe for your gums in that freshly cut tooth. It can't cause any irritation. Second, and this is a big one, it can't get super hot while it's setting in your mouth. We'll get to why in a sec. It also can't shrink as it hardens. If it did, the fit would be all wrong. And of course, it has to be strong enough to not break when you're chewing. Set at a speed that's convenient for the dental team, and, it has to look like a real tooth. It's a serious balancing act in material science. And this quote right here? It zeroes in on what might be the single biggest safety issue. See, when these resins harden, it's a chemical reaction. And like a lot of chemical reactions, it gives off heat. Now, if that reaction gets too hot, right there on that vulnerable tooth, you could literally cook the living pulp inside. That can cause a world of pain and could even lead to needing a root canal. So managing that temperature rise is absolutely critical. All right, so we know why we need them, and we know what the ideal material would be like. But how do they actually make one of these custom-fit little bodyguards right there in the dental chair? Let's walk through how it's done.
It's actually a really clever process. The first thing that happens, and this is key, is the dentist takes an impression of your tooth before they even start drilling. That impression becomes the perfect mold or template. Then, after the tooth is prepped, they mix up the resin, it's kind of like a thick paste, and load it into that mold. They place it right back over your tooth for a minute or two. As it starts to harden, it gets to this sort of rubbery stage. Right then, they pop it out of your mouth. The rest of the hardening and all the trimming and polishing happens outside. And that's how they avoid that whole dangerous heat buildup right on your tooth. Pretty smart, huh?
Now, as you can probably guess, there isn't just one single material. Dentists have a whole lineup, a family of different resins they can choose from, and each one tries to check off those wish list boxes in a slightly different way. So let's take a look at the main players here. You can basically group them into a few big families. You've got your acrylics. Those are kind of the classic old-school workhorses. Super strong. Then you have higher methacrylates, which are sort of a spin-off of the acrylics. And then you have the more modern composites, which are actually filled with microscopic bits of glass or ceramic to give them certain properties. Now, each one is a trade-off, right? The acrylics might be the strongest, but they also tend to shrink a little more and give off more heat. The composites might look better and be more stable, but maybe they wear down a bit faster. So the dentist has to look at your specific situation and decide which materials' pros and cons are the best fit. And how these materials are actually delivered and mixed also falls into two main camps. First, you've got the powder/liquid systems. This is the traditional way. The dental assistant mixes a powder and a liquid together, a chemical reaction kicks off, and boom, the clock is ticking. You have to work fast. Then there's the more modern approach, paste systems. These are often way more convenient. They come in a cartridge that you put in a special gun, and it mixes the two pastes perfectly for you as you squeeze it out. Some are even light cured, which is really cool. They won't get rock hard until the dentist zaps them with a special blue light, giving them way more control over the working time. And that leads us to a really smart hybrid technology called dual cure. It's exactly what it sounds like. It uses two ways to set.
So a chemical reaction starts things off, getting it to that firm, rubbery stage we talked about so it can be removed from the mouth. But then, to get it completely, totally hard, the dentist can hit it with that curing light. It really gives them the best of both worlds. The safety of a slow initial set, plus the on-demand, rock-solid final cure. It's a fantastic bit of dental tech. Wow, okay, so we've gone through a lot here. The why, the what, and the how of these temporary resins. So let's just take a second and boil this all down to the key things you really need to remember. Honestly, if you walk away with just one idea, let it be this one. A temporary crown isn't just a placeholder, it's a high-performance bodyguard. It has to do this incredible balancing act between keeping the tooth safe, being strong enough to use, and being easy enough for the dentist to work with, all in one tiny little package. So, let's wrap it up. First takeaway, temporaries are there to protect the tooth's health, not just to look nice. Second, creating the perfect material is a huge challenge. It's a tough balancing act of safety, strength, and setting properties. Third, they generally come in two main flavors, the hand-mixed powders and the pre-mixed pastes. And finally, remember that each of those types gives the dentist a different set of tools and trade-offs to work with for your specific case. And so I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you look back at that whole perfect protector wish list, strength, speed, safety, looks, which one do you think is the one non-negotiable feature? If you had to pick the most critical property, what would it be? It's a tough call, and it's a trade-off that dentists and material scientists are thinking about all the time when they design and use these amazing little bodyguards for our teeth. We've all been there, right? That heart in your throat moment when a temporary crown just refuses to budge. Or even worse, it fractures into a million pieces when you try to get it off. We're going to dive deep into the science behind the temporary crown resins we use so we can make sure those clinical nightmares become a thing of the past. So picture this. You've done a beautiful tooth prep, your matrix is absolutely perfect, the temporary you just made looks amazing, but now comes the tricky part. You've got to get it off. And look, the secret to dodging that dreaded lock-on or distortion or a fracture, it's not about look. It's all about really, truly understanding the material in your hand. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with the single most critical moment, the rubbery stage. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of heat, shrinkage, and patient safety. From there, we'll look at strength under pressure, and then touch on patient comfort and aesthetics. And to wrap it all up, we'll do a quick-fire clinical Q&A to make sure everything sticks. All right, let's jump right into our first section. We're talking about the most critical moment in the entire process, the rubbery stage. Seriously, mastering this is the difference between a super smooth procedure and a really, really frustrating clinical headache. So, what exactly is this rubbery stage? Well, you can think of it as that perfect sweet spot, that Goldilocks moment. The material isn't liquid anymore, but it's not rock hard either. It's in this semi-set phase where it has just enough body to hold its shape, but it's still flexible enough that you can gently ease it off any undercuts without it warping or distorting. The cake analogy is perfect. Take it out of the pan too soon, it collapses. Way too long, and it's stuck for good. It's all about that timing. Now, looking at this workflow, there's a huge point I want to emphasize. The final cure happens outside the mouth. This is not just for convenience, okay? It is an absolutely critical step for both patient safety and the final strength of the temporary. That's step 4, removing it from the mouth at just the right time. That is the pivot point for the whole procedure. You get that right, you've pretty much won half the battle. And this is where your choice of material really, really matters. See, with composite resins, they have these special molecules that create a super dense, cross-linked network very early on. Think of it like a strong spider web that forms almost instantly. This gives the material a really distinct, super predictable rubbery stage. It's easy to spot. Acrylics, on the other hand, they set much more gradually, which makes that perfect removal moment a lot harder to pinpoint. So what's the bottom line for a busy clinician? Well, composites are just more forgiving. They give you a more efficient workflow and seriously reduce the risk of having to do a costly remake. Okay, so we know how important that rubbery stage is, but what happens if you miss it? What if you get the timing wrong? Well, that leads us straight into our next section where we're going to talk about the hidden dangers, heat, shrinkage, and overall patient safety. Now, I know it can be tempting, to just let the material set completely in the mouth to save a step, but trust me, that is a recipe for disaster. There are 2 huge reasons why this is an absolutely terrible idea. setting contraction and a chemical reaction that can get pretty hot.
Okay, first up, let's talk shrinkage. Polymethyl methacrylate, the classic acrylic resin, shrinks by a massive 5% by volume as it sets. 5%! If you let that happen on the tooth or in situ, the temporary will literally shrink wrap itself onto your prep. And at that point, it becomes incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible, to remove without having to cut it off. And that's a risk nobody wants to take.
The second big danger is heat. All these materials give off heat when they cure. It's what we call an exothermic reaction. But acrylics, whoa, they are in a league of their own when it comes to heat. Now think about a freshly prepped vital tooth. That kind of temperature spike is a direct thermal threat to the pulp. We're not just talking about a little discomfort for the patient here. We're talking about a legitimate biological safety issue. So how do we dodge these dangers? It's actually pretty simple. It just comes down to following a couple of non-negotiable rules. Rule number 1, timing is everything. You have got to remove that temporary before it hits its peak temperature. Think of the rubbery stage as your flashing warning light. Once you hit that, you've got a minute, maybe 2, tops. And the golden rule, the one you never ever break, do not let these materials set completely in the mouth. Period.
Okay, so you've nailed the timing, you've safely removed the temporary. Awesome. But now comes the next challenge. We need to make sure this thing can actually hold up in the patient's mouth until the final crown is ready. And this is where properties like strength and brittleness become super important. And where does a temporary crown's strength matter most? You guessed it, right at those thin, delicate margins. That area is always the weakest link. It's the spot that's most likely to chip or, have a catastrophic fracture, especially if you're dealing with a tricky prep design like a shoulderless margin. So let's put these materials head to head. As you can see, the acrylic material is just generally weaker and more brittle. That makes it a much riskier choice for those thin, high-stress areas at the margin. The composite resins, on the other hand, they give you a much bigger margin of safety. They're stronger and a whole lot less brittle. Okay, so we've covered the technical side of things, but what about the patient's experience? I mean, a temporary can be super strong, but if it's uncomfortable or looks terrible, that's not a clinical win, right? This is where things like biocompatibility and aesthetics come into play. Biocompatibilities is a really big deal, especially when you're working with freshly cut dentin. The methyl methacrylate monomer that you find in acrylic resins, it's a known pulp irritant. But here's a simple pro tip. Applying a little bit of varnish or even just a thin layer of petroleum jelly on the prep can make a world of difference for your patient's comfort. And it's also good to know that some other materials, like those that use isobutyl methacrylate, are just way less irritating from the get-go. And what about aesthetics? How does it look? Well, the good news here is that you're not really limited by the chemistry of the material you choose. Both modern acrylics and composites come in a ton of different shades, so getting a really nice, natural-looking result that blends right in, that's totally achievable. All right, it is time to lock in everything we've talked about. Let's do a quick-fire Q&A. These are the key points you'll want to have in your back pocket when you're chairside. Okay, first question. Which material has that really high-setting shrinkage we need to watch out for? That's going to be polymethyl methacrylate, the acrylic resin. It shrinks by that critical 5% by volume while it's curing. Question number 2. When you're worried about those thin margins breaking, which material is weaker and more likely to fracture? Yup, you got it. That's the acrylic material again. It's just weaker and more brittle than the composite products, which makes it a riskier bet for those really delicate spots. And for our last question, what is the #1 clinical advantage of a composite resin setting reaction? And the answer is, it's super distinct and predictable rubbery stage. That clarity just takes all the guesswork out of the removal process. It turns it into a reliable procedure and helps you get an easy, distortion-free result every time. It's a huge deal for both clinical efficiency and for patient safety. So, as we've seen, it's all about trade-offs, isn't it? You've got the predictable handling of composites on one side and the specific chemistry of acrylics on the other. You're balancing the risks of heat and shrinkage against the need for strength and durability. So that brings me to my final question for you to think about. Now that you know these trade-offs, which specific property, is it the clear rubbery stage, the lower heat, or maybe the superior strength, which one is going to be top of mind for you when you make your next clinical decision?